Hi there, today I'm going to show you how to make this covered notebook. The video, like the technique I suppose, is taken from Apple Lover 53 on YouTube, so thank you very much to her. This is just to allow me to show my class on a Tuesday evening in Swansea how they could cover their own notebooks. So this is done on the machine, and as you can see it's got these little pockets that the book slips into. I've got the book upside down because I've got things written in it, so so there you go, it just slides into there like that. And you can then of course embellish the, embroider all over the front, and I just thought they would make nice gifts for people for Christmas, that kind of thing, or birthdays. So I'll show you how to do that now. Now, start off with a piece of wadding. Now what I would do, I've got the actual wadding here. You can see that that's actually quite thick and spongy, but what I've done is I've ironed it basically, so it's now much thinner and not quite as sort of fluffy and spongy. So what I've done with my notebook, when I take it back out of here, there we go, because you have to make sure that you take into account this spine. What I did the first time was just open the book up like that and trace round the book, and that totally discounts this extra little width here. So the best way of doing it that I've found is to keep the book flat like this, draw round your wadding, and then very carefully, without moving it like I'm moving it here, put it back, draw around this side, and then cut out that shape. So then iron it nice and flat. Protect your iron and your ironing board, of course. I should tell you that just in case. So yeah, this is your basic starting point now. So place that on the desk. Then you want a piece of lining fabric, just a little bit bigger, just so that you can stitch around it. So there's my lining fabric on top, covered in cat fur, as is normally the case. There's a shiny side. Where is it? I can't see under the light terribly well. I think this is the shiny side. I'm not terribly keen on the shiny side, so we'll pop it the other way around. Like that. Now you want another piece of lining, the same size as this, and then you chop it in half down the middle. Then when you've done that, you fold these pieces and place them along the sides here, so that they overlap. So that they overlap the edge here. You can just see there. That's the ridge where the foam is, and then you do the same on the other side. But you want the folded end, this folded edge, on the inside. So put those like that, and make sure that they're straight and that they're reasonably even. I mean, nobody's going to have a crisis if one is slightly wider than the other, but it's just to try and get them as close as possible. And put the piece of fabric on the floor, and then with the right side down, put your other piece of fabric on the top like that. Now what I tend to do, because I find the wadding quite difficult to pin through properly, I turn it upside down like that. So everything should still be in place, but just give it a double check. And now I pin round here, making sure you've got everything. Now when you we're going to stitch around this on the machine, but you want to leave a gap. You don't, because you need to turn this whole thing the other way out, so you don't want to stitch through the entire piece. So I shall leave a gap at the bottom, about maybe 4 inches, something like that, just to allow you to turn it more easily. Okay, a couple more pins. Oops. And then just have a little check on the back just to make sure everything's sort of gone through okay. You haven't got a big crease or anything like that. So there we go, that's quite nice and flat. And now what we're going to do is on the sewing machine and to sew a couple of millimetres, so maybe 3 millimetres away from the foam, and stitch all the way around the edge except for this little gap. Oops, sorry, can't see. Except for this little gap down the bottom here. So all the way around there. So the actual foam won't be attached to the back, to this backing fabric, but it will just allow you to sort of, as it were, trace the outline of it. So I'll stitch around there now and show you when it's done. Right, so hopefully you can now see that I've stitched all the way around, just maybe half a centimetre away from the foam edging. So that, as I say, this isn't actually attached to the backing at all, it's more of a sort of tracing. So all the way around there, and then up to a stop here and here. So now we're going to trim these little endy bits off here on the front and back, and also we're going to trim all the excess fabric off around the sides. Oops, running away. Anyway, there it is. There we go. So I'm going to trim all the way down here. Again, about half a centimetre away from the stitching, not through the stitching. Do a bit more space here. Just to trim all the sort of excess bulk out of it, because we're going to turn it inside out, otherwise it will just be really fat notebook. Now the corners, you just about see there, we just want to chop the corners at a little angle like this, up to the stitching but not over the stitching. Again, it just helps turn the corner nice, you know, when you're turning it out it makes a nicer point, rather than trying to stuff all of that into that little corner there. Last little bit, like that. So now I'm going to take these pins out and we're going to turn it the right way out. So it's a little bit like making the bed, except it's out. Me sticking a pin in my finger. Yeah, it's a little bit like changing the bed, but smaller and rather more annoying. But just do it slowly and with patience, and we'll get there. Get these pins in my fingers. There we go. So using the little hole that we left here and trying to keep this in place. So if you kind of grab a corner of it like you would with a pillowcase and turn it inside out, and basically just keep sort of wiggling it until it looks about right. But there you go, you get the kind of the starting idea of how it will look, and now you just sort of tinker with it until it starts to look really reasonably smooth. With the edges, put the corners here. Something like this is a very good sort of pointy tool. You don't want to push something really sharp in there, or it'll just push through the fabric, and that's really annoying. But just sort of ease it into shape like that. Same down with this corner here. Now you can see my first mistake. I have not gone close enough to the edge here. Sorry if you can hear James whistling there. So it's left a little bit of the edge, a bit of the seam showing, and that's not ideal. So this isn't the perfect example for you, I'm sorry about that. So just keep tinkering with it and pretend you didn't see that. Never works when you're doing it in front of people. And just keep wiggling the bedclothes until it all gets flat. See, just getting there now. There we go. Now I'll give this a little press just to make it even neater. And then we check to see that it fits the, I've done this the wrong way around, haven't I? Those flaps should be around here. Dear. Come on, brain. There we go. Oh, it looked a bit strange. So we'll just pop these round this side. Oh, very handily. That looks like that section there might not show. It's rather splendid. Go. Right, yes, that looks better, doesn't it? So I'll give that a little press and we'll see if the book fits inside. There we go, I've given it a little press, and now for the moment of truth. So you can see just the bottom's still open. So we shall see if it all fits. Okay, front fits. Sorry, the cat's prickling the chair. There's always a cat in my videos, as you know. There we go. And the book fits really nicely. So as I say, you could decorate the front with whatever you'd like to, and that's absolutely fine. And then before you, well, next stage is to just, after you've checked that it all works, you just turn this little edge under here, turn that edge under like that, and then just hand stitch that little edge closed. I'll just get this one to show you. Which edge is it? This one here. Don't know if you can see that, just little teeny tiny hand stitches. Sorry, cat's playing up again. There we go. So, yep, and that's your fabric book cover done. Now, there we go. These are the finished book covers I've done, 4 of them. And you can see that you could decorate this really pretty, in a very pretty way. Add a little section to the front there, and that would be really, really attractive. So if you've enjoyed the video, please feel free to share it and to like and subscribe the channel. Thank you for watching.